And welcome back to In the Interest of the People. If you're just tuning in, we've been announcing for the last 45 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, we're going to have Mr. Danial Miller on here. Mr. Miller, back in March of 2005, was indicted for rape, second degree, for an incident that allegedly occurred in 2002. And I don't have time to read the whole thing, but Mr. Miller applied for an application for youthful offender status. He was 17 at the time?
I think it was 19.
19 at the time.
That's right.
And the courts refused to give him youthful offender status. He retained an attorney. His attorney died, and of course he hired another attorney, and he filed a petition for relief from conviction and sentence under the authority of Rule of 32. That was denied, and in the meantime he goes. He was in the Guards or in service, and he goes overseas and he serves time in the service over in Afghanistan?
No, it was in Iraq.
Iraq, okay. And then, of course, when you come back, you are filing a statement asking for a rehearing on the Rule of 32, I believe it is.
Yeah, I've been pursuing it for some time now, about 10 years.
Okay, and reason we're being hurried because we want to get into the meat of this thing. Anyway, Mr. Miller's plea was not voluntarily, knowing and intelligent. If I understand it right, based on this right here, you were led to believe one thing by your attorney.
Yeah, no one had mentioned anything about any type of sex offender registration whenever I pled guilty to it. There was just 2 years probation to be served, and then as soon as I'm convicted and sentenced to 2 years probation, and all this comes about.
According to this here, Mr. Miller was sentenced before he learned the consequences of an adult guilty plea. So you pled guilty of the thinking you're going to get a 2 year probation.
Yeah, that's what I was led to believe.
Okay, by your attorney. And now the consequences of his adult guilty plea is included a mandatory lifetime sex offender registration, community notification requirements, and other lifetime consequences of Alabama Sex Offender Statute 1521. Basically, you are a sex offender until you die.
For the rest of the life.
That's right. Just like a convicted felon, unless the president pardons you, it's on your record until God comes back. Basically, that's what it amounts to. And what you're doing, you're trying to get someone to listen to you and have this removed. Now, if I understand it right, based on this right here, the lady that we were trying to get on the phone, she said she would talk to us on the phone. I don't know if I can get her while we're talking. I don't know if I can do two things or not. We'll try. She said she would talk to us. She said in the court case that she was the aggressor.
That's right.
She was 14 years of age at the time. You was 19. According to the document here, her and Mr. Miller's sister were together. And at that time, the girl was 14 and the sister was 17. And they claimed that they had drank half a gallon of vodka, according to the documents here.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Prior to going to Mr. Miller's house. And according to this, before this date, you did not know who this lady was.
Yeah, I had never met her before. She had been hanging out with she had hung out with my sister for some time, and I didn't even know her from anybody. And they came to my house. I don't remember what time it was, but instigated.
According to this, you was passed out.
Yeah, I was heavily intoxicated. It was my house. I just moved in there for about 3 days, and we were hanging out, me and some friends, and having a party. And she come over, and I guess she instigated to having sex with me, is what she claimed. And I remember being unconscious. Well, I mean, I remember slightly waking up during the middle of it, but before that, I never knew her.
But you never knew her. And I'm trying to get on the phone, folks. She's agreed to talk to us. She's at a ball game party tonight, and she said the phone, she may not hear it ringing where she is. There's a big crowd there. And I talked to her earlier tonight. I'm going to keep trying to get her. But she said that she was the aggressor, that Mr. Miller had never met her prior to this night, and that I said, well, ma'am, you're 14 years of age. Do you look like a 14? She said, no, I'm very much of a woman, or was much of a woman at that age. And even his sister, I don't think, knew how old she was.
Well,
possibly, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. My sister's a little younger than me,
but you didn't. But you had no way of knowing how old she was.
I had no way.
Never had met her before this.
I remember waking up.
I know, but you had never had met her before this one night. Right. That's what she says, and she says that that she drinking, and that she came in and apparently wanted to have a sexual encounter. So she aroused Mr. Miller up, and to the point that they did, and she became pregnant. And sometime later, years later, whatever it was later, Mr. Miller was charged with a sex crime. And everything was going along fairly well, apparently, but and the lady refused to prosecute you.
Yeah, she didn't want to prosecute me, but there's a gift of life program. I don't want to call it too many names, but they had threatened to take her child
if she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't participate. Yeah.
So they said, if you don't prosecute him or work with us, then we're going to take your baby away from you.
Yeah, and what's most troublesome about that is no one stops to think that, hey, let's ask some questions. You know, they just have their own little set way and ready to prosecute somebody.
This all was 4 or 5 years before you went to court.
Well, it happened in December the 28th or 29th of 2002 is when the incident allegedly happened. And then
when did you learn that she was 14?
Well, I was being investigated by the city of Sylacauga about 3 months. I mean, not the city of Chillisburg, about 3 months after that.
After she became pregnant?
Yeah, and then I was made aware.
But how did they know about it?
I guess because she was pregnant. I don't.
I mean, but she must.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to press charges or anything like that, and I don't think her dad was either. But maybe her stepmom or the Gift of Life program. I don't know.
Okay, and the reason Mr. Miller's on the program, he made the news recently, the newspaper, TV, radio, so forth and so on, and he wanted an opportunity to be heard because Sylacauga arrested him for failure to file the necessary notification charges of whether you were living here.
Yeah, and I was going to get into that, which there's a lot of things that concern me about it. And the main thing is Sylacauga saying that I failed to bring a piece of paper from Talladega County to them. And I don't want to make a whole lot of statements about it, but I know that there's a lot of people, and just a common thing to do is say, oh my God, what's going on, whenever you hear the word sex offender. And what they're saying is that I didn't comply with the registration, and I've done more than comply with all these crazy requirements that I'm required to do.
You registered with the county?
Yeah, absolutely. I registered January the 4th, I think it was, with the county, and by January the 9th, Sylacauga's got a new prosecution thing, a new registry guy. I don't know. I hadn't really ever met him before. He just started, so he. I don't know what happened, what the mix-up was.
Have you ever registered with a city wherever you lived as a sex offender?
Yeah, I've registered several times down in Sylacauga. I've lived here in Sylacauga since 2010, January. And, I've come across a lot of hostility while living here, an abundance of it from before I even moved, really.
Well, in all fairness to the city police anywhere, there is a stigma against a sex offender.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to clear up. No doubt there's crazy people wherever you go in this world, but
when people hear that you're charged with a crime, having sex with a 14-year-old, you're 19, whistles and bells goes off.
Yeah, whistles and bells go off, and everybody wants to protect their own family, and that's true.
I agree.
But one thing that I don't think that people realize is that there's such a widespread net cast that it's easily to get snared up into. And I've talked with so many people, they call me up and want to ask questions, and I've seen some of them even take their life because it's a hard life to live. But the thing is, you really have to step back and think, what's really going on, because your own family can get ensnared in that. And that's when, it's too late, really, because once the stigma's attached, nobody wants to listen to a thing you say or have to say.
Folks, you hear the phone ringing in the background. The lady promised us she would talk with us on the phone, and she's in Montgomery. We're trying to get in touch with her to let her tell you what she's told the courts and so forth and so on. But either she can't hear the phone ringing or she's decided not to answer the phone and be on the program. And we're not going to call her name, even though it's in the documents and everything. We're not going to call her name. But have you registered with the city of Sylacauga now?
Oh, no. I haven't made any communications with them.
I mean, have you not gone down and signed up that you're living here?
I've been told. They know where I live. They come by and see me all the time.
But didn't they charge you? They didn't charge you with this?
Yeah, they charged me with it, and we haven't had a preliminary hearing. I think it's March the 7th in front of Mr. Ryan Rumsey. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited about going to court. It's cost me a lot of money, but I'm excited to, just stand up and fight for what I believe in most of all, and just show that you can't just prosecute people, and this is a serious felony offense. And it's ridiculous that the trouble that you go through. I mean, honest to God, that these law enforcement officers go around unchecked. I tried my best to file criminal charges on an officer, and you can't do it. I guess they're above the law, but I mean, I'm not trying to call any names, really. I mean, it makes me very mad when someone tries to take my freedoms and my liberty and tries to prohibit me from pursuing what I know is right. And I've been fighting this for a long time.
But here again, in all fairness to law enforcement, they know that you have pled guilty to a sex crime. And you can sit here and say that you were not guilty. There's a baby involved, so as the DA said, there's a proof when it went to court. There was no question that it happened.
Well, no one ever answers any questions. That's the trouble. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's much more to it. With you have a young girl coming to my house at a young age and having sex with me while I'm passed out, and then next thing you know, wham! I mean, a promising young man, his career is just about got ruined.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not in no position to argue. I don't drink, and I've never been passed out when someone tried to have sex with me. It's difficult when you're sober. So I can't speak for being unconscious drunk or what would happen. But where do you go from here?
Well, I've been fighting this for.
Let me say, folks, if any of you got a question you want to ask Mr. Miller, 256-369-1688. We'll take your phone call if you got a comment. Be respectful. Don't use any bad language. But if you want to be firm or you want to ask some tough questions, go ahead. I'm not here. We're not here to prosecute the police department. They have a job to do. Now, if there's some problem he has with the police department, he's certainly welcome to file a formal complaint with the proper authorities against whatever officers he sees fit. But all they see at this point is that you are a sex offender. You pled guilty in open court to the charge. I guess the question, why didn't you not fight it then? Well,
I was a lot younger then, and anytime you're faced with like a criminal charge, nobody wants to go to prison.
I understand. I've been there. I understand how it works.
And so I was like, well, I don't really want to go to prison. There was like 2 years of probation, and so I was like, okay, well, probation. What is probation?
But you were not told of all the
collateral consequences, as they call them. Really, it's a lifetime of punishment. But
you have a caller here. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
What about the lady in Mississippi? It's on the internet. He raped a lady.
Oh, yeah, that's where
What about that one?
You're saying that he raped a lady in Mississippi?
It's on the internet.
On the internet. Okay, appreciate you calling, man.
Again, there's an example of such a stigma. I was registered in Mississippi because I trained there before I deployed to Iraq in 2006.
But you not raped anybody in Mississippi?
I raped nobody nowhere.
Okay. But I mean, why would this be on the internet then?
Well, whenever I got ready to deploy to Iraq, I went to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and I'd done, I think, about 4 or 5 months worth of training, getting ready to go to Iraq. And so while I was there, it was a big to-do to make sure that you're in compliance with everybody's law, whether it be Alabama's, federal's.
So you registered as a sex offender?
Yeah, I registered back in 2006, right before.
But not that you had raped somebody in Mississippi?
No, it just follows you.
Hello, caller.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. You have a question or comment?
Yes, sir, I do.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am, you're doing fine. Go ahead.
Okay. What I would like to ask your guest is, what I'd like to tell him first is I know that things like this happen, and it is unfair. Sometimes the crime does not fit the punishment. It can be overdone. Age has a big factor in this. Let me ask your guest this one thing.
Go ahead.
Has this caused you financial distress? Has this caused you not being to be able to pay your bills?
No, I know it has not.
You have another question, or you want to hear his answer, ma'am?
Sir?
You want to hang on and hear his answer, or you want to hang up and let him answer it?
No, I'd like to hear the answer, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is in reference to just this past August. I happened to be 3 days late on my house payment. I've been purchasing this house since January the 15th, 2010. And the lady refused to take my money. I don't want to call any names. I really respect the lady. She's an elderly lady. But she refused to take my money, and I had heard through the grapevine, you know, the reason she didn't want to take my money is she wanted me out of there. She wanted me to move. And I've attempted to pay that lady, and she refused to take my money. And I've saw this in court 3 times in front of Judge Ryan Rumsey, and each time he sided with me.
That answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, and you know, what's happened in his personal life should not have anything to do with taking, you know, money from a person. If you owe a bill, pay the bill.
Absolutely,
now,
and it's just
a situation where this has put him in a financial tight where he can't make the bill. I can understand that, but to refuse to take money, that's kind of hard to believe. But anyway, I'm sorry all this happened to him, and I hope this works out.
Appreciate you calling,
thank
ma'am.
you so much.
I'm not sure what she's talking about, but
well, it's a hard life.
You may know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to try this lady one more time. We're about out of time. Where do we go from here?
Well, I just want to tell everybody, because I'm so adamant about helping one another, that being on a registry, ostracizing a group of people, it's a shame that whenever someone obviously needs help, that you don't reach out your hand and help them. And that's what I do. I feel obligated to help people. I've seen people, and I've heard people kill themselves because they're just so fed up and don't know what to do. But I prayed hard, and I graduate in July from the University of Alabama, pursuing a criminal justice degree and a minor in psychology, and I hope to get into law school someday. I think that's where I'm best fitted to help other people who are in a like situation. And this is a subject that needs attention. And why it most needs attention is because everyone, every grown man, honestly, is eligible. And I would just hate to bring my 2 sons up in this world with them having the same chance to go through crap that I go through and not have a chance to do something about it.
You had this lady, 14 years old, came to you. She was the aggressor, according to her statement and your statement. Was that the first and last time that you'd had any physical encounter with her?
Yes.
So one-time deal?
It was a one-time deal. I didn't even know her.
Mr. Miller, I'm sorry we're out of town. I appreciate you being with us. If things move along and you want to come back on at a later time and spend more time talking about this
Can I say one other thing?
Yes, sir. Be quick. We got about
I have a website, and I don't have it up at the moment. It's called www.socialinjustice.org, and I promise to everybody that I'll have it up within the next 2 weeks, and I'll have a lot more information if they're interested.
We'll try to have you back on here at a later time.
Okay.
Got to go. Appreciate you tuning in this week. See you next week for another edition of In the Interest of the People.
Another show without being unplugged.